Hello. Gosh, I'm nervous. My heart is thumping.
If I've got something to say, and I know I'm right, and I'm completely sure of myself, I don't get nervous. I can say anything. But Graham's heart's pounding. That's called cognitive dissonance, that is.
Um, I'm sorry, I just thought I'd hop on because otherwise I'm going to have to write all this, and it's just exhausting having to write these things,
Try writing some comedy, then you tosser.
over and over again. Um, the reason is that these people never engage with us. So, you
I will engage with anybody who's respectful and good faith. I enjoy it even. I'm friends with loads of extended critical women on Twitter who've approached me respectfully and in good faith, and we've had chats in DMs. So if you approach us like that, the chances are you'll chat with us and then you'll start supporting us and come over onto our side because we're all fucking lovely. But most of them at this point are just right wingers or socially conservative and they can't be respectful. They just turn up abusing us so they get blocked. But also, Graham and his incel boys just spread loads of mad stories about us and twist all our words to make us look worse, to demonise us. So certain ones of them block us before they've even had the chance to engage with us. And I know this because I'm friends with ex-gender critical women who tell me how it works. So yeah, if you engage with us respectfully, you end up on our side, and that's just a fact.
know, uh, you have to keep saying it over and over again. So I'm gonna say something. I want to be very clear about something in the hope that Stewart Lee will engage with this publicly, because I think this conversation has to be had publicly.
Stewart Lee did a list of people he thinks should go in the bin, and Graham was on it, and the poor love hasn't gotten over it. But this list also has some other notable transphobes, including amateur comedians like Ricky Gervais. So he's signalled his position very clear, but he's not going to specifically wade into the trans debate. Why would you? It's all a fucking mess.
Okay, here's my question. Why did you not defend Jerry Sadowitz robustly when he lost his Edinburgh show? Why didn't you do that, Stuart Lee? You know, you said something in a newspaper interview about how he's a victim of changing times.
So Stuart Lee just give you his opinion that Jerry Sadowitz is a victim of changing times, that the landscape and context of his comedy has changed. That's his opinion. And he's probably right, because he knows a hell of a lot more about comedy than me or Graham do. Definitely Graham.
Uh, that's a cop out.
It's not a cop out, it's an opinion.
Why didn't you say, like Richard Herring, to his credit, said, this is appalling?
Because Richard Herring's opinion was it was appalling, and Stuart Lee had a different opinion than that. It's not rocket science. So a double act has to agree on everything. Because Richard Herring said it's appalling, so must Stuart Lee. It's weird.
Um, I'm kind of spurred to saying this because, and I don't want to say too much about your upcoming special, uh, because I haven't seen it. But I don't know. I'll be watching it very carefully
You should. He's a good comedian. Highly recommended.
because if you dare suggest that cancel culture doesn't exist
What will you do? Cancel him?
when people are frightened to sign a J.K. Rowling letter of support.
J.K. Rowling doesn't look very terrified. She was waffling about lesbians and dick on a timeline the other day. It's obvious now, the plausible deniability is gone. She's a weirdo. She's a transphobe. She's got lots of problematic opinions about LGBT community. And she's best mates with other mad transphobes. So everybody knows who J.K. Rowling is now. Anybody who writes a letter of support is just giving them weapons to defend themselves with.
In the face of the death and rape threats she's been receiving.
J.K. Rowling hasn't received any credible death or rape threats. She's had heat on Twitter and she's weaponised it.
And when will you sign that, Stuart? Do you have a reason not to sign that?
But I just told you if you happen to see this.
I'll include the link down here, and we'll see if you fancy signing it.
I love the way he's talking directly to Stuart Lee. As if Stewart Lee's going to stumble across his Tin Pot YouTube channel and care enough to watch.
Because I think it's, it's a fairly uncontroversial thing to say, that women should be able to talk about their rights without receiving death and rape threats.
It's so uncontroversial, it doesn't need to be said. Now, Graham has dozens of sock accounts on Twitter. He's a one-man abuse machine. He goes around abusing any woman that supports trans rights. He calls them some horrific things. He's really, really toxic.
So anyway, will you sign that? I don't think you will.
So what's all this about then?
Stewart Lee, because I think you're a coward and a fraud. And I think you should hand in your comedy card.
If there's a comedy card you have to hand in, then Graham must have handed his in yonks ago, and it would explain a lot.
Because you're lying to people. And that's the worst thing a comedian can do.
A comedian could be a serial killer or a rapist. Having an opinion that disagrees with Graham's opinion is the worst thing you can do. That's what he actually means. Not lying. Having a different opinion.
You are lying to people for partisan reasons.
Graham's MO right now is lying to people for partisan reasons.
Now, I would be happy at any point to hear from you where...
I bet you would. He's a proper celebrity. He's famous. Who wouldn't want to hear from a proper celebrity?
We disagree on my analysis of this situation.
His analysis? It's bits and bobs of conspiracy theories picked up from incels in his group chats. But he's trying to sound intellectual.
I am with the lesbians who protested at Pride.
Half a dozen lesbians protested Pride, who were transphobic. Thousands of non-transphobic lesbians at Pride told them to fuck off.
I am with the parents who are suing the Tavistock.
As far as we know, nobody is suing the Tavistock. It's not happening. See, he's lying for partisan reasons.
I am with the detransitioners who are all telling the same story.
They're not telling the same story. And when you listen to the stories, some of the detransitioners that are propping these up have circumnavigated the pathway, have admitted they told little white lies to get speeded up, or have gone private and cut out a few steps.
I am with the women who've been fighting this and have been smeared and punched and shattered.
Who's been punched? There's Maria McLaughlin at Hyde Park a few years ago. I'm not going to even get into Maria, but it's like 5 years ago.
By people like you, by clueless people like you, Stewart Lee. You're a disgrace. There is no excuse by now not to understand this issue.
Stewart Lee does understand this issue, and there's no excuse in 2022 not to understand exactly what's going on.
We're talking about children at the Tavistock. We're talking about 1,000 families suing them.
Keira Bell went through the court case a few years ago against the Tavistock, and her legal team was looking for other detransitioners to stand with her and bolster the case up, and they couldn't find any. But supposedly, in the 18 months since then, there's 1,000 of them. It's cloud cuckoo land. There's no detransitioners suing the Tavistock at this point. But Graham's lying for partisan reasons.
And Stewart Lee can't bring himself to say exactly what his problem is with J.K. Rowling or with myself.
It's self-explanatory. It doesn't need to say.
Say what your problem is with us. Say where you disagree with our analysis.
Analysis. I always chuckle.
All right? Or shut up and stop saying cancel culture doesn't exist, you fucking tool of the establishment.
He's getting really angry, isn't he? Because he knows he's wrong. It's cognitive dissonance again.
That's all I wanted to say.